Welcome once again, everyone, to Spring Park United Church's Staying Connected, Worshiping Together for this, the second Sunday of Easter. I invite you to follow along on the bulletin with our prayers and with the music that has been selected by Susan Duncan, and I hope that this service is a blessing to you. You'll notice the Christ candle is burning behind me, electronically at least, and together we reflect on that light now. The beams of this light herald the coming of spring and warm weather. The beams of this light herald the presence of the Holy Spirit here in this place and wherever you may find yourself today. As people of God, we come to worship in song and in joy. Let us pray together. God, our Creator, you made humankind glorious in its diversity and complexity. Yet we have not always acknowledged your will to make all people members of your human family. Help us to receive the words of Jesus, who told us that in God's house, all are welcome. We pray for those here and everywhere, those who may be sick or lonely, disheartened, or dealing with illnesses and addictions or mental health problems. We pray for those who are known to us and those known only to you. We commit all to your care, knowing that our prayers will be answered in your time and in the best way possible for us, a way that only you can know. Amen. The readings this week come from the Gospel of John and the first letter of Peter. I will be reading John chapter 20, verses 19 to 31. And Rev Bill will be reading 1 Peter 1, verses 3 to 9. We turn now to our Gospel. And it's the story of Jesus appearing to the disciples and to Thomas. When it was evening on that day, the first day of the week, and the doors of the house where the disciples had met were locked for fear of the Jews, Jesus came and stood among them and said, "Peace be with you." And after he said this, he showed them his hands and his side. Then the disciples rejoiced when they saw the Lord. Jesus said to them again, "Peace be with you. As the Father has sent me, so I send you." When he had said this, he breathed on them and said to them, "Receive the Holy Spirit. If you forgive the sins of any, they are forgiven them. If you retain the sins of any, they are retained." But Thomas, who was called the twin, one of the 12, was not with them when Jesus came. So the other disciples told him, "We have seen the Lord." But he said to them, "Unless I see the mark of the nails in his hands, and put my finger in the mark of the nails, and my hand in his side, I will not believe." A week later, his disciples were again in the house, and Thomas was with them. Although the doors were shut, Jesus came and stood among them and said, "Peace be with you." Then he said to Thomas, "Put your finger here and see my hands. Reach out your hand and put it in my side. Do not doubt, but believe." Thomas answered him, "My Lord and my God." Jesus said to him, "Have you believed because you have seen me? Blessed are those who have not seen and yet have come to believe." Now Jesus did many other signs in the presence of his disciples, which are not written in this book, but these are written so that you may come to believe that Jesus is the Messiah, the Son of God, and that through believing you may have life in his name.
A reading from 1 Peter 1, verses 3 to 9, a living hope. Blessed be the God and Father of our Lord Jesus Christ. By his great mercy, he has given us a new birth into a living hope through the resurrection of Jesus Christ from the dead, and into an inheritance that is imperishable, undefiled, and unfading, kept in heaven for you, who are being protected by the power of God through faith, for a salvation ready to be revealed in the last time. In this you rejoice, even if now for a little while you have had to suffer various trials, so that the genuineness of your faith, being more precious than gold that, though perishable, is tested by fire, may be found to result in praise and glory and honor when Jesus Christ is revealed. Although you have not seen him, you love him. And even though you do not see him now, you believe in him and rejoice with an indescribable and glorious joy, for you are receiving the outcome of your faith, the salvation of your souls. Here ends the reading.
Our reflection this week is called Keep Calm and Carry On. It's been 20 years since a forgotten World War II poster was discovered in a second-hand bookstore in Northumberland, England. You may recognize its slogan, Keep Calm and Carry On. Since then, it's been marketed extensively, showing up on t-shirts and coffee mugs, even the polyester banner behind me here today, hanging on my office door. Its message has become more popular in the last month as the world stares down another enemy, an invisible one, the unseen COVID-19. It was April of 1939 when the first concept artwork for this poster was begun. It was ready for printing by August, just before the outbreak of the war in Europe in September. The idea behind the slogan was to boost public morale. It was intended to remind people that their own behavior had an impact on everyone else and on the way events unfolded. This gave a level of reassurance to people who otherwise might succumb to despair and despondency, as their daily lives and routines, their businesses and their social activities were disrupted, and as they were forced to obey the directives of the state. Sound familiar? On this second Sunday of Easter, we read how the lives of the disciples were also thrown into disarray as they tried to deal with the aftermath of Jesus' crucifixion and how that event upended their world. John's Gospel tells us that they were gathered behind locked doors. Like us, they were avoiding contact with the outside world, which had proven so hostile to Jesus, their beloved teacher and leader. They too were personally feeling that hostility. Would the same thing that happened to him happen to them? Would a knock on the door mean they would be taken away and arrested, put on trial and executed? The text says the doors were locked for fear of the Jews. We need to remember, however, that the disciples were Jews themselves. This reference, so long used to buttress anti-Semitism, really means that their community was divided between those who followed Jesus and those who did not. When the author of John was writing this gospel between the years 90 and 100 of the Common Era, this division was only becoming more pronounced. None of the Gospels are eyewitness history. They all speak to the context in which they were written and to their contemporary audience. Locked doors, though, were no barrier to Jesus. He suddenly stands among his disciples and advises them to keep calm. Peace be with you, he tells them, in his most pastoral way, and then he shows them his wounds. The disciples are convinced that this truly is Jesus, and they rejoice. Jesus repeats his calming words, peace be with you. But he also adds a second requirement. As the Father has sent me, so I send you. This, was Jesus' way of saying, carry on. This is no time to stay locked away from a world that needs you. A world living in fear and dread needs the compassion and love and care that the disciples can offer. In order to empower them, the text says that Jesus breathed on them. Not something which reassures us in our time, as we are told to avoid direct contact with others, But this breath represented the presence of the Holy Spirit, which would help them in their work. The Spirit is the air that fills the lungs of the church and keeps it vital. Without the Spirit, the church, to use a modern metaphor, would need a ventilator. Finally, Jesus tells them to not hold a grudge against others for all that has happened, encouraging them to forgive. Without forgiveness, as we know, we cannot move forward in anything we do. Not all of the disciples, however, were in that locked room. Thomas, forever known to history as the Doubter, was absent. In her book, The Bible in the New York Times, the American preacher Fleming Rutledge explains that, quote, Thomas was so angry and bitter and broken up that he could not or would not seek fellowship. Very much like many of us, don't you think, when we are mad at God or mad at the world, and we stay away from the Lord's Supper. End quote. Thomas was so upset by how events had unfolded that he needed to be by himself, away from the others, with only his thoughts, as he processed his emotions. At the first opportunity, the other disciples are eager to tell Thomas of their intimate experience. They boast, "We have seen the Lord." And Thomas listens and hears the excitement in their voices, the relief and hope that they feel. But he wants to experience this himself. He is not taking their word for it alone. And should we blame them? Should we blame him? Doesn't he deserve the chance for the same intimate experience? He does not discount their claims. He only seeks what they know. And Jesus does not disappoint Thomas, returning to the same house. This time, Thomas is there and witnesses Jesus' presence firsthand. Jesus' message to the group remains the same: keep calm, or peace be with you. And he follows that up with carry on when he says, blessed are those who have not seen and yet have come to believe. This is a directive to us who are not in that room with Jesus and the 12. Even though we are separated by time and distance, we can have a relationship with the risen Christ, who helps us to carry on and to be one of his disciples too. The letter from 1 Peter was addressed to a suffering community under stress and uncertain about the future. The writer encourages them to keep calm in the knowledge that they share together a new birth and a living hope, which has been secured for them by Jesus' death and resurrection. This does not mean that all their suffering will vanish or that they will be rescued from life's challenges. It does mean that they will be given the strength to carry on. They will be empowered to endure and overcome in their shared struggle. They only need to keep their faith. Although you have not seen him, you love him. And even though you do not see him now, you believe in him and rejoice. Last week, the blind opera singer Andrea Bocelli could not contain his rejoicing as he sang Amazing Grace from the empty Duomo Cathedral in Milan, Italy. Italy, as you know, is enduring great loss and upheaval during this pandemic. But the author of Amazing Grace, John Newton, discovered that positive change can come from upheaval. In his own life, he saw the world with new eyes when he abandoned the Atlantic slave trade, where he was a captain of a slave ship, and joined the Anglican ministry. In our time of challenge, we are confronted with a world that we could not have envisioned even a few months ago. We do not see a lot of things. The virus is invisible to us, but so are many of those essential workers who still go to their jobs each day to keep us fed, healthy, and safe. We do not see those scientists striving to find a cure behind the locked doors of a laboratory. We do not see the small acts of kindness carried out each day, the phone calls, emails, and video chats, which keep us connected, the meals brought to the door, the messages of encouragement, which continue to remind us to keep calm and carry on. Amen. We dedicate the gifts that support our church now as we say together this prayer. Holy One, even as our daily tasks are challenged, we still can share the story of our faith, and we share our bread with the stranger. Even in these times, may we know the presence of the risen one, and by this presence, may our hearts burn with love within us, so that we may share all the gifts you give to us in gratitude and praise. And I invite you to join me in the closing prayer responsibly. Do you still have doubts? We do, but we go forth to share them, trusting in God's openness of welcome in Jesus to plant dialogue where there was once dogma. Do you still wonder about the resurrection? We do, but we go forth to share that wonder, trusting in the Spirit's leading to places of new life. And do you still worry you don't have all the answers? We do, but we go forth as members of the family of faith, trusting in God's grace to speak the word in our living. Amen.